The Club World Cup is upon us. Welcome back to FFB, amigos. And today we're going to get into it a little bit. This tournament, which is the first of its kind, is far more special than everybody remembers, than they think. It's growing. It might become important. We're going to get into why it matters, why it matters to some clubs are really going all out, why it matters to Chelsea and Chelsea fans, why it matters to me. So let's get started with the basics here. Some hate out there because Chelsea is the first of the Premier League teams that made it into the 32 team Club World Cup. And some people be hating. They be hating because some people felt Liverpool should be in there because they're doing so well and Chelsea's been doing so poorly the last 3 years. The coefficient should be lower than that and not qualify them. But hey, you gotta win the Champions League to be in. So all the Arsenal haters, Spurs, all the normal Chelsea haters out there, sorry, we won the Champions League right in the time frame that qualifies you. I think it's the right thing to do, the right thing for the Champions League people who win the Champions League to qualify. So that's the story. But that brings me up to deservedness and something tricky. Those of you that know MLS better than me, please comment. But we ended up playing now Leon. We're going to play, no, we were going to play Leon. Chelsea were going to debut against Leon, but they had an ownership issue very similar to what we could expect. At any moment, we could have or should have expected City to have, Nottingham Forest, and actually Chelsea should. Two of teams owned by the same ownership structure play into the same tournament. I think they had it in the local tournament. Please give me more details there. The point is they got the boot. But what I think is worse than that is before that, they had Inter Miami in as the qualified team instead of the actual winners and the better team that I think should have qualified there, which is LA, not LA Galaxy, but the LAFC, which are the ones that we're going to play now since the Mexicans got kicked out. Now we get into that team. But anybody who understands that whole Inter Miami thing and why the hell they were the ones that made it instead of LA at first before the Leon situation happened, please let me know, man, because that sounds like some sketchy FIFA stuff that I don't like it to be so. I'm not one of those paranoid people that are always trying to trash them, but it smells a little fishy. So give me some info down in the comments, some links to some news, whatever you got, so I can look into it a little bit. I'm not that concerned. But yeah, so that's what Chelsea are playing. We're starting with the first game the day prior. Now, why does this matter? Apparently, there's roughly 29 million for the champions, but for the final. But if you take into account every single match, if you win all the matches and then you win the final and become the champion, it's over 100 million. So that's 97 million pounds. So that's certainly over 100 million euros and dollars. And that's what's going to change, I think, the dynamic of this whole thing. I've heard there's some issues with tickets. I honestly contemplated to see if I can travel to the States to watch some of these games, and the prices were outrageous. And with having a World Cup coming up soon, the Nations World Cup, I figured, man, I can't spend that kind of money to go and watch this when in the same place, pretty much, I have the World Cup coming soon, and that felt like a far better investment. But hey, as soon as I have enough followers and views, guys, you hook me up, I'll be able to attend this kind of thing. The budget's not there yet. And so why you've seen this sudden thing, when have you ever heard before of teams, including Real Madrid, Chelsea, among others, in Europe, saying that they're trying to get some transfers through the door prior to the World Cup? The World Cup was a non-thing, but if you have 100, we're going to say 100 for just shortcut, right? 100 million to put in through the door. Now, some people say, well, what's 100 million to Manchester City? What's 100 million to Real Madrid? What's 100 million? A lot. Because you guys have to remember, we have the fair play rules, the financial fair play rules across Europe and in every national tournament. So even if the owner has a bazillion, gazillion, trazillion, you can't be on a big loss in your books. So out of the blue, in the summer, raking in 100 million, that could be a Champions League winning signing or two with that money. That could be The difference between being unable to make any signings this summer or very little to suddenly being able to make an important signing. So it could be really defining. To the smaller teams, and I told you guys this, and I owe you these videos, and I promise that I'll make them. I just have so much footage of a trip that I made to Argentina. The Boca and River fans are going nuts down there. Because can you imagine for a team like that, or a team like one of the CONCACAF, or that's not going to happen, or but certainly the South American teams, which I think have a shot if the Europeans don't take it too seriously. 100 million does. That's insane. Now, I say they shouldn't take it too seriously, but I've heard Real Madrid taking it a little bit more seriously than ever. PSG, straight after winning the Champions League, they're like, we're going after the World Cup. We're going after the World Cup, baby. This could totally turn into a thing. So I think actually being the first one that wins this format, as a matter of fact, all these other teams are complaining that the 32 team is not enough. They wanted the 40 something team. Of course, it's about revenue share as well. But this can turn into something with a lot of prestige over the years, and you would be the first champion of this format, which could be huge. And I think this is another way to stave off the Super League. That's just me saying that. I'm not sure. It just feels like being able to qualify to play this every 4 years. And if this becomes a really big pot and an interesting thing, then you have to play the UEFA tournaments to get there in the case of Europe and so on and so forth. So they might live to see another day, which is interesting. Let's talk about Chelsea. So Chelsea arrived playing really well towards the end of the season. Well, not playing really well, but getting the results that they needed towards the end of the season. And look, I've told you guys before, I don't know. I see my competitors, quote unquote. No, I call them my friends. Everybody's making YouTube videos, and especially the Chelsea ones, but everybody. They're like Esteval Williams sneezed video because there's no football. So I get it. I feel bad, you know. We need the content. We need this. I would say they need the money. I don't need the money because I'm far from monetized. I need a lot of more friends like you that watch my videos to subscribe and like and comment so I can eventually make some money from this. But I get it. They need to keep the bills paid during the summer. But they make too many videos, right? About Mike Maignan coming to Chelsea or not. And it's like 5 videos on the guy. And same thing with Delap. It was like 10 videos, even though we signed him in like a week. But that's great news. So that's just to say that I'm not going to make all these 1,000 million videos. I'm going to try not to. But I'll make one where we get into. I think. But let's wait until the transfers are a little bit more advanced. But Chelsea, I'm mentioning that because they bring in the lap, and we're going to look at. Let's get into the team. Let's see who's traveling. But the lap is coming to the Club World Cup. Let me bring it up here. So the tricky part, again, speaking of goalkeepers, Marc Maignan. Man, it's crazy news with that 15 million situation, whether Chelsea doesn't pay it or not because he's 30. Like 30 is old for a goalkeeper is not. You can get at least squeeze 4, 6 years out of him easy. Some good goalkeepers maybe stretch up to 38 with decent levels. But in any case, we're bringing our Mike Penders, Philip Jorgensen, Robert Sanchez, and Slonina. Now, what would I expect there? I don't know what to expect, man. I don't know who the hell's going to play. I would hope in a perfect world that Robert Sanchez does not play because we know he's moving along, and it would be like Philip Jorgensen playing and seeing a little bit of Mike Penders. But guys, I want to win. And I want to win because of all the reasons I told you before. And it's so sad, the goalkeeper thing, man. It's not like I want to win, so I need Robert Sanchez in goal. That doesn't even feel right coming out of my mouth. But fine. Okay, so Robert Sanchez or Flip Jorgensen, probably the ones going to play. We're bringing Joshua Champong, Tosin at Arabioyo. I recently watched a match. You know what I'm gonna do, guys? I'm gonna do a video looking at all the other pundits and what the videos they make, because sometimes they talk crazy. And I'm gonna talk about Rory right now. He did a who should stay, you know, the typical video, who should stay, who should leave, buy, sell. And he sold 90% of the team. Like, it's like, that's ridiculous. It's impossible. I know we should up our level and all that, but realistically, you can't bring in that many players to replace those players. And among those, I'm saying this because he was getting rid of Tosin Adarabioyo. And I actually think Tosin is an amazing player, a squad player. He's got the height. And there's some games where you got maybe your main center backs. Agreed. If you're a Champions League fighting or a Premier League competing for the Premier League, he's probably not at that level, but certainly if you're playing FA Cup, League Cup, Champions League, and you're gonna need a guy, and you're gonna need a big guy like that quite often. Sometimes to come in late when they're raining on crosses into you, trying to beat you with a late header in a game. So I like him. And then Chile, not a fan. Aaron Anselmino. I don't know why he's not with the team. He's probably on vacation. You guys have forgotten about Aaron Anselmino? Remember we brought that center back? That was before the whole Chalaba thing. We brought him in, made him feel like he was going to play. The dude was playing in Boca Juniors. He was actually playing. He's been benched now, just, I don't know. That's sad. Months. No football. I wonder what's going to happen with him. Trev, Caldwell, Cucurella, Milo Gusto, Reece James, Mamadou Sarr. Mamadou Sarr. Let's see. A lot of these guys we know traditionally, like I said, they would come into the preseason. Don't come. This is not a preseason, man. Don't confuse this, guys. But they would come in. We would see them for a few games, and they would go out on loan, and even the coach would decide whether he wants them or not. So I think that's why another reason why a lot of business needs to be done, or we were hopeful to be done before this, so we can decide who to play. Moises, who definitely wants to win this. I've heard him say it in interviews. He's coming back from a couple of tough games. Congratulations, Ecuador qualified to the World Cup with ungodly performances from that dude. If you look at the match reviews when Ecuador played Brazil, he was mentioned a lot in the context from the Brazilians and ex-players and everything, saying that Ecuador has certainly played a player like Moises Caicedo and a better midfielder than any midfielder in Brazil, which has Bruno Guimaraes in it and many other talented players. So that's credit to Moy, El Niño Moy, which we love very much. Enzo Fernandez coming, that got red carded against Colombia. Really tough match, got really aggressive. Drew in Buenos Aires in El Monumental de River, which I'll be showing you some videos about that place. I was lucky to watch a Copa Libertadores game just a week or two ago that we'll be making a video about. Romeo Lavia and Andrei Santos, which everybody's excited to see, and let's see if we're going to stay. And at Chelsea could look like we have a very powerful engine now with Dario Esugo joining, which gives us feels that Kieran Dewsbury Hall would leave with so many people in there, but it doesn't look like it. And I actually like him as a squad player. He's a guy that hasn't complained, has come in, and during the Conference League, he came in and he did it when sometimes no one else in the team was doing it. Finally, Liam Delap, Tyreek George, Mark Yu, Nicolas Jackson, Noni Madueke, Pedro Neto, and Kunku, and the man, Cole Palmer. But man, in Kunku, I hope he's gone. I didn't even want him at this tournament. Mark Yu, I'm so happy he'd be there as the third striker. I hope we keep him. Nicholas Jackson can leave if we ever dare to bring Osimhen, which I don't think we were. Osime, however you want to say it. But yeah, those are my two issues. Take George a little bit too young. They're talking about Nani going out on loan or going somewhere else. Tyreek might not see any football depending on what happens on the wings, because we do have what is it, the Brazilian coming in, the young Brazilian, you guys remind me, Estevão Willian, eventually to the Premier League, supposedly. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And the question is, what are we going to line up? Are we going to line up strong? And I think for this first game, I think what I'd line up strong the first few minutes. Bring in the A-team Sensa, probably Caicedo that needs a break, and Fernandez. But a strong team without them, and I can bring them on later on because they came, well, it's not far from South America, but believe me, guys, playing down there is rough in long distances and flights. They're not settled. Some of them are actually just joining maybe a day ago or something, and we're playing in hours at this point. It's a day. It's more than a day, but it's a short recovery time. So let's see what happens with that. Now, that's what's going on with Chelsea. What do you guys think? Do you think that we should line up strong? Do you really want to win it? Please tell me in the comments. Again, I think you will be shocked at a couple of teams that are going to come at this strong. Think about it. For example, PSG. They play in the Farmers League, man. They have they have the summer coming up, a little bit of a break. They can have a slow start to their season. It's not the same as competing for the Champions League. So they're going to be able to come in strong, take this tournament, and all these things add up. Remember when I was telling you guys about the importance of even of the Conference League for Chelsea, because now in UEFA in Europe and now in the World Cup, coefficients matter. So I think these international games that you get to play, every point that you collect playing against international opposition in all tournaments, is probably going to help you with maybe not the way they do the coefficients now, but they will in the future. Same thing with Chelsea. We didn't know the exact rules at one point on how they're going to calculate coefficients or who's going to qualify to these things. So it's always important to win from that perspective. And I think like I said, you'll be surprised. PSG, um, they said it. Luis Enrique said it like right after he won the cup. He's like, "We're coming for this World Cup." Some players get excited. Don't be surprised, South American players, to be excited once they hit. And everybody knows that they're going to be. Some of these players are going to be playing the World Cup there in a few months. At this point, it's a year, but it feels like months now. We're getting excited about the World Cup. So anyway, those are my thoughts so far. We are going to do some reviews about especially all the Chelsea games for sure. And then we're going to look into all the exciting games because there's some really cool teams there and some encounters. Messi is going to, and his fellow acolytes from Inter Miami are going to run into some players that they've seen in Europe. We're going to see Thiago Silva. Oh, Thiago Silva. We're going to have some beautiful encounters. Football, it's a party. It's a wonderful time, giving us some better than preseason football in the summer. So I'm excited. I would love to be world champions because for this team, for this young Chelsea team to collect silverware, imagine to pick up this little Club World Cup and to have that title, world champions. It's a morale boost. It would be insane, and $100 million would really serve us. So, Chelsea players, come on, you Blues.